all you want to. No one hear you.
Can you hear me now? Good morning. Welcome back to At the Round Table, man. We are live in studio this morning, enjoying it. I tell you, I really enjoy. It's the fellowship with you brothers. It's always nice to be back in here.
God is good, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We are live in studio here, the Easter weekend here, 2024. Yes, so you know that it's live, not Memorex. So folks will be texting, "Hey, are you guys live today?" We are live today. The three amigos with the shiny heads. And Jamal's probably listening. He goes, I know he's going to send us some Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah. We love you, baby.
Yeah. How many licks does it take to get to the center?
We love you, baby.
Well, and if you want to join us here this holy weekend, 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685 is the calling number here. I said, as you were saying, Dr. Bradley, before we went to break, you were talking about, but I also want to, that we were talking earlier in the broadcast, is that, folks, we are in real peril times here.
Yeah.
And it's not just here in this country, but it's around the world. And if we don't get together, and I'm not talking about one, because see, people sometimes conflate when you talk about getting together. I'm talking about like-minded people, because they say all your skin folks ain't your kin folks, and I've met a lot of them. So I was one of those folks who felt like I needed to be aligned with a certain group of people. No, I need to be aligned with people who are like-minded, who are looking so that everyone has an opportunity, because we know that. If it's a fair fight, we can compete, but you can't. It's like running a marathon, unless you do like Rosie Ruiz, where take the train and down there, nobody sees you, and then you find out later on. Yeah, it's easy to win when you cheat, and then even like I said, what Donald Trump has put into question is a system that people, whether they agree with it, and it wasn't always right, but they always had a little faith in the criminal justice system, in our courts, in our politics. People lose, like when what's his name there, the Al Gore, right? When the courts decided. He didn't say, I'm not going to accept this, and,
he didn't appeal it, or try to get reappealed.
Right, this is rigged, and this is a scam, and all this.
Although he could have, and he would have had a legitimate reason.
But he went through the process, Brother Rose. Yes, he went through the courts, and then the court said, there's nothing to see here. We've decided.
Well,
right or wrong, and we live with it.
Yes, that was a Gore Lieberman administration, a possible administration. Right. I think the key piece here is that although Al Gore was pushing hard to actually have the court review it, and they did. But also on the side of that was the Democratic Party said, hey, we're only going to let you go so far.
Right.
See, that's the key piece, is that the Republican Party is saying there's no guardrails. The guardrails are gone. And actually, when you look at the way that the system was designed through the Constitution, the Electoral College, that was supposed to be the guardrails to keep people like Donald Trump out of the mix. But the Republican Party, the parties themselves, tore down those guardrails, which is why the founders didn't want parties. They didn't want them at all, because they felt like if they had parties, you have a group of people who can actually unite their influence and prevent the rest of America from benefiting from the fruits of democracy.
Yeah,
I mean, Hamilton said that.
Yeah.
Hamilton said that very clearly. Is that me?
No.
Hamilton said that very clearly. So that's the issue: is that we have lost. We only have one legitimate, in my opinion, party here, because that mega extreme side, and that's why I'm hoping that the rest of the Republican Party come back and claim their position.
I don't think so, because the ones that think of those terms in those times are leaving, or they're not even running for office, right? Because you see, Mitch McConnell and some of those same folks, and Kevin McCarthy, right, who was the former Speaker of the House for the shortest time in history. After what Donald Trump did, they got up and they said that he was responsible and should be held accountable. And now these same people are supporting his reelection.
Yeah, I got that, and you're right, and there's no question about that. It's very clear. But I think this is the piece that may be missing, these people are power hungry, and so when they're losing elections and they realize they can't win those elections, you're gonna see the shift. You're going to see a seismic shift in their thinking, because what began to happen is that if I can't win under your ideology, I got to adopt another ideology that's going to put me in office.
But Dr. Bradley,
I steal and cheat.
Right, I agree with what you're saying, but how do we conflate that with when people like Liz Cheney, who stood up for right, gets voted out because she stood up for right?
Because what's happened is because
and the party supports.
That's an excellent point. But what happened when Liz Cheney did that? What happened was that people like you and me, who are on the Democrat or the independent side of the thing, say, you know what, I don't like her policy, but I respect the person. And so what ends up happening is that particular individual with other like-minded individual come back and reclaim that Republican policy, that's going to push them in a position of leadership.
Okay, I agree with that part, but to a point, because now you have 60% of that party who's buying into the lies, and you only have 20%. So there's not enough of the sane people any longer. They're more of the insane. That because that's how Donald Trump, he would not be the nominee.
I'm not saying you're going to eradicate the whole 60%. What I'm saying to you is that when the 40% comes back to reclaim their party, with the acquiescence and support of independents and some Democrats who may be on maybe center, all right. You're going to get a lowering of the of the support for that radical.
I hope you're right.
Mega approach. But see, because America, if you look at it, even on the Democrat, we look at these two parties, brother. America is not totally radical or totally liberal.
Right.
They're somewhere in the middle, and when you get either extreme from either side, people start to push back. I think you're going to see that in this election.
I guess too, but I'm looking at, people are so outraged or upset with Joe Biden because of his age, right? And yet you have a guy who's but you have a guy that's only 3 years younger than him. But it's radical. I mean, it's just like, I would take somebody, like I said, I'd rather have my grandfather in there than my grandchild running the country, because this is just total chaos. Donald Trump is nothing but chaos.
Well, see, as a black man who was raised partly in Augusta, Georgia in the 1950s and some of the 60s, I repudiate or I reject anything about isms, race isms or age isms, because that's the same thing they use against my people, our people. You know what I mean? So who am I to say I'm not going to support you because you're old?
Right.
What's the difference saying I'm not going to support you because you're black?
Right.
It's still a discrimination. That's how I see it. So if the man is doing the job, look at him. He's out more than Trump is.
Right.
If he's doing
he's
the
not
job,
at Mar-a-Lago,
if
he's actually working.
If he's doing the job, then why am I complaining about his age? He's doing the job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And in my opinion, he's doing a good job.
A better
based on
job.
what he got.
A better job.
Based on what he got. So I can't support that.
If you look at the policies and you look at where this country, I mean, they said we were heading to a recession. Didn't happen because we had an adult, and he had adult people around him, right? You look at his cabinet, right? It's been very strong. It's been adults. It's not been this drama. Everything, it's just drama. It's, every day. Like, Donald Trump used to be at the press conferences at the White House all the time because he was nothing else, watching news, watching TV, watching Fox News all the time. Nothing constructive taking place in his administration. I mean, when COVID hit, they weren't prepared. He said, "Hey, just get you some bleach and the needle."
He wasn't prepared, and that's why you have the economy that you have today.
Right.
Because by the way, America's economy is better than the economies around one of the best in the world.
Are
not the
enamored
best.
by.
All right.
What we are.
So that's because you have an adult, and this is the other hit. Donald Trump is such a kid that people like a Putin or Xi or whoever he is, those folks are going to have run rings around him.
Yeah.
They can't do it to Biden because Biden's been around for a long time. Folks, we're going to need this wisdom. Based on what we're facing with today, we're going to need that age wisdom.
I would disagree with you strongly, Dr. Bradley, and you equating, and this is, I want y'all to hear me. I disagree with my brother, and I take offense to him disparaging children with Donald Trump, because a child sometimes doesn't know better.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Right.
A child can be corrected in most cases, right?
Well, you have younger children,
right. And I expect this of them, right? I don't expect this of an almost 80-year-old. So I think you would even agree with me now. Thank you. I appreciate the line.
I agree with that.
Let's welcome our caller to the broadcast. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
See, I knew when we put that ball joke out there, who loves you, baby?
Right. And now for nothing, on the children thing, another point about children. Children generally are nice until they're poisoned. You understand?
Yes.
Like by some adult or what. Children generally they want to share. Yes. They are kind. They make new friends no matter where they go. Until they're poisoned, like don't play with that one. Right. Or, this is yours. Until somebody poisons their brain, kids are generally good.
Yeah. You're right. They don't, because racism, I tell people, it's a learned behavior.
Absolutely.
It's a learned behavior. Because I worked with people and they say, my grandfather, he's old school. I know what that means. You can't come by.
No, well, I mean, like, again, the children, like, at a certain age, I mean, as a baby, of course they're going to be selfish. They only know themselves and everything. Right. But when as they're getting older, yes, they want to engage as social creatures and everything like that. So,
it's one thing too is problematic that y'all was talking about earlier too. Is just the state of the world.
Oh my
because
God.
Okay, so America, one thing, but let's forget about America for a minute. But what's happening with Russia, Ukraine, and then a lot of stuff we haven't even thought about in a minute. Nobody's really talking about Iran or Pakistan, right? Or old boy over there, Kim Jong-il, right?
North Korea.
And as you said, to your point with the dictators and whatnot, when they pass it on, he's already prepping. I think what's that? His little sister or whatever.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
And they say she might be even more cold-blooded than him.
And that's why he killed his uncle, because, he had some way of succession or whatever.
He looked at him funny.
Exactly. But the other thing, Jamal, I think what people understand, like with Trump, Trump doesn't get to tear up all of our agreements. We have agreements with our NATO alliances, right? And that if Putin crosses over, just like we did in World War II, if Putin crosses over into one of our NATO, right now we're supporting Ukraine, whether people believe it or not, we don't have to put any soldiers, any boots on the ground. If Trump goes into one of our NATO allies, we are obligated.
If Putin goes
in. Putin goes in. Whether Trump wants to or not, we are obligated to do so. We are obligated to get. That's why when we got attacked on 9/11, all of our allies, we didn't have to call them up and beg them to come.
They came.
Because that's the agreement. And that's also what's scary. And I'll let you, is that is important to deter dictators when they know. See, Trump is saying, "Hey," he said literally, "I invite Putin to go into these other places and do whatever he wants to these other countries." It's just
as far as so once again, all of this stuff that's happening in Eastern Europe and all of this, but then also too, Israel and Palestine. Then also too, you got all the turmoil that's happening in Africa. Plus our good brother's home nation here, Haiti.
Right, that's what we're going to. Good pivot. Yeah, so go ahead.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we are in the middle of civil wars, coups, potential on the brink of World War III, all over I mean, this is really biblical, like wars and rumors of wars.
Yeah. And to that point, Jamal, that's what people understand is that, look, it's just human nature. And I'm not saying that everyone is fleeing. We can't solve the world's problems. But if you're a human being, and I tell you, because I reached out to Brother Rhodes when I was still working. I remember we were staging down at the transportation building down there almost every night when these protests were taking place across the city, and we were part of the Paw Platoon. And these families would come into that place at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, because they had limited space, but they couldn't get into the area upstairs to lay down with their kids, and the kids are running around the lobby being kids. But I'm like, and it broke my heart because I knew my daughters were home having a meal. They could go to bed if they were tired. And these kids were tired because they've been in tow all day long, right? And I'm saying to myself, these kids look like my kids. These parents look like me.
You see what broke in the news too? They put some of these migrant families in the shelters, right? And then the shelter got mold in it.
No, I
so
didn't.
now you got a little baby 2 years old in the thing.
Wow.
You know, you from another country. Okay, so now they moved you because you was in a moldy environment.
Yeah.
Now when your kid's 5 and has respiratory illnesses, you know what I mean?
Right. So I'm glad because we were going to pivot to that. So Jamal, thank you for segueing us because I was going to ask Rhodes, you know, what is going on if you know, and I'm not saying because, you know, you're Haitian American, but I've reached out to my friends. I've talked to Eddie. I've talked to my friend Claude. You know, these are my brothers. And, you know, and I was talking to Claude and he was saying he was trying to send money to some of his friends and family down there. But it's very difficult because it doesn't reach the people. No. It's such corruption. Like, you can't even get help. And because I called him and said, what can I do to help? I can't keep watching this and act like it doesn't impact.
No, well, like sending mail, like going through DHL or whatever. Like my sister would be able to send her stuff. Like for her to be able to fill out her, her taxes and everything. Like now, it's like she's gonna figure out something else.
So you have family there?
Yeah, my sister lives there.
Your sister lives there. Yeah. What is she telling you? What's going on there?
Well, again, Port-au-Prince, the capital.
Yeah,
that area is closer to downtown, the airport. That area, it's definitely being devastated.
Okay,
but again, a little further higher in the mountains, the more affluent areas. Literally, the police officers that are legitimate, have gotten together with the men in the community. So they put like barricades and vehicles to prevent people from just because you can see people coming up the hill. Mm-hmm. So people living up the hill, they can see who's coming up or what have you. So they've armed certain citizens in the community, and like literally to go shopping, they'll go out like a neighborhood, like a caravan, and then they'll come back together and stuff like that. So safety in numbers, but no, the mail's not coming through. They're they burnt down all the police stations.
Right.
They let out all the prisoners, and they only wanted certain prisoners out because the other prisoners, the citizens, like kind of got together and said, "Nope, you're not leaving."
But to your point, so the Port-au-Prince is the capital. So how are your sister and others getting what they need? Because it seems like that's where the hub of everything comes in. How's it getting out of there to them? Because the
rest, 90% of the country is functioning normally.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, outside.
But, okay, that's interesting.
Different, like the cruise ships still can go north of the. Yeah. Okay. It's not, but again, it's with Port-au-Prince. That's where all the havoc and all the.
See, the impression you get from watching the news, maybe, is that the whole country is on fire, and that you see,
because that's what they're concentrating on where the fire is. But
because like I saw people at the border with the
Dominican
DR, and it seems like everybody's trying to get out. Like, so you're telling your sister's not trying to leave?
No. She does want to leave, but she's because of her current situation, she's not going to leave because she doesn't want to leave her husband behind. Because of he's got a green card, but they're only evacuating American citizens right now.
Okay. And your sister's an American citizen. Yeah. How long has she been living in Haiti?
Since the earthquake.
Oh, okay. So
she got when the earthquake occurred, and she was working for the American Red Cross and some other nonprofits, but she got a call from BROC, which is an organization that helps people with artificial limbs. Okay. So if anyone lost an arm or a leg or a hand or what have you after the earthquake, she was able to get them like use prosthetics, and a lot of these people so from there she moved to other organizations, and she's been living there ever since.
So, and I know there's a lot of orphanages.
Yes,
like I said, and this is why it's good to talk, because like I said, Jamal and Dr. Bradley, I did not know this. Like I said, if you watch the news, you think everybody
the part of the country that's functioning like in the north and the further south or whatever, they're functioning normally, and they're not allowing, and they won't allow the gangs to take foothold into their community. Like the community gets together. Yes.
And you got to understand too, like people over there, like I know people over there, family, and some of the families that are more well-to-do and whatnot. You know, armed security, much like South Africa, is part of your cost of doing business. Yeah. You know, like that's part of your house cost. So like many people have armed security and stuff like that, you know, or live in, you know, secured compounds and so on and so forth. But also let me tell you too, the strength of the Haitian people, because it was a nice little, you know, neighborhood over there, you know, but you can see everybody in there, hardworking people, and they all like it's like a family type of village type of vibe, right?
Yes.
Well, some gunmen went up in there and started shooting up the thing and trying to terrorize the people. All them people didn't have no guns, but all them people came together. They came out with their machetes, and you know what happened next?
Yeah.
So they chopped up them gunmen and left them in the middle of the street with a tire around them and made a barbecue.
So now here in the state and here in Massachusetts, I don't know which shelter you're referring to, Jamal. I know the one over here. There's been an outbreak of measles, chickenpox. I'm sorry, chickenpox in the shelters, but also that the time frame. It seems like that folks have to be out of there in June, I think, or by the end of June, because that's when that facility starts to open up for the summer and all the activities there. And I don't think people understand, like, the only way that most of these folks are going to be able to stay in Roxbury is if they're in a shelter. There is nothing affordable to move them into in those neighborhoods that they're currently in right now, where it used to be they may be able to find an apartment in Roxbury that's affordable, but there's nothing available to them. So at some point, sadly, a lot of these folks are going to be displaced unless they have family members or someone else to take them in.
In the shelter I was talking about, I think it was in Malden or Medford, one of them. But it was a hotel. They or a motel or whatever that they repurposed for the use of a shelter. Okay. And so that's the thing. They will find some other places to shuffle off some people, right? But what is going to be the condition?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
And so now, because of this crush of people that's coming through and whatnot, people are we're not really doing folks too much favors. I guess, people will say, well, this beats that. I guess being in this place would beat being on the street or something. But oftentimes, though, well, not oftentimes, but sometimes, situations like the mold infestation or whatever, that can have an impact on your long-term health.
Right.
And these types of things, not for nothing. Some of our kids are in schools that are infected with mold and, breathing in all sorts of rat feces and all this type of stuff and, rusty lead pipes and everything. So we have a bunch of conditions that we ourselves are subjected to on a daily. And I think in this kind of emergency situation, I don't know that they're getting the best of the best.
Right. So in the humanitarian, Dr. Bradley, I used to, because I know, your town has a pretty good Haitian population. Are you seeing an increase, or is your town taking in more people from Haiti?
From what I understand, they're doing the best that they can. But I have another question though. I was listening to the conversation, and I do agree that what he's saying is that a part of Haiti is doing well. Whatever happened to the 271,000 or 200,000 Ukrainians who came to America after the attack? Why aren't they sleeping in lobbies? Why aren't they breathing fat cat feces? And what happened? Why were they so easily amalgamated into society with no disturbance at all? Think about that. I mean, a lot of people just focus on what happened, and don't get me wrong. These people look like me. These people got off the boat before my people got off the boat, coming up through the Atlantic trade route. But Russia is wrong on this. But you had the same situation. You have a war zone, and these individuals migrated from Europe. Over 271,000 of them, 171,000 more than what we said the Biden said he was going to allow in the country. Over 271,000 came to America. You don't hear a whisper about them having issues with money, accommodations, jobs,
housing, everything,
food, none of that. Why is that the case, and why are our people going through this, but people coming from Europe don't have this problem? We have a problem in this country because it's not that we can't do it, but it's because we won't do it because they don't look like the ruling party.
It's the same. Wrong. It's the same reason why the woman in Texas was arrested and others weren't, because of what they look like.
So don't lose sight of the fact that what's happening in Haiti is devastating. Haiti is a resilient society. Don't get me wrong. It was the very first independent black society in this hemisphere. No problem with that, all right? It was chastised by, and it has been wrong what they did to Haiti. America can stop this real quickly. But America, after the Manifest Destiny, all right, they allowed France to come in and ramshackle this island. Then America came in, and you got organizations like Citibank who are now up and running because of what they did to the Haitian people. But why are we allowing Europeans to come in?
Here's the other thing to what you're saying, and I've said this to numerous people.
It's crazy.
I said, because you talked about the slave trade, right? I said when they were
Yeah,
we were able to bring that many people plus over here and work for free, right? And enslave them. As many as you get. Now that there's a cost associated with taking care of them, the welcome mat is not even turned. It's not even put out. It's not even turned over. It's taken away. Jamal, I know you get around the city because, like I said, it's ironic how when I'm not working here, I used to be in the city every day. It's limited my time that I come in, so I don't really know what's happening in the city with this, other than when I do turn on the news because it's just depressing. What is going on with this? Because I know there was an uproar with some of the folks from the community when they were first trying to set folks up in the shelter up there at MAMLEO Cast. And then there's been some issues reported out of there, not just from the measles, but also some inappropriate. I don't know if it was that shelter, but that there was, and that's what you sometimes, unfortunately, you get is you put a lot of strange people in the space, and they start preying on others, And I've been hearing quite a bit of that as well.
Yes, so that is unfortunate.
From the community, perspective of, the what I've heard, there's what I'm going to classify as like, two camps.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one camp that says, we understand that these are our brothers and sisters, and we understand they need help, and we want to help them, but we don't believe that this is the appropriate facility.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that because I think just in the sanitary requirements for that number of people, it's just not adequate.
Right. It doesn't. I mean,
it wasn't designed.
They on cots and everything.
Right.
It looks like it's. That's you do that type of thing after like an earthquake or a volcano or something
and
like
it's
that.
only
That's
a couple of days.
Emergency. Right.
Exactly.
So there's that camp. Then there's the other camp, which, is very ill-informed and, dare I say, ignorant, that is like, who are these people? Send these illegals back home, and this, that, the other. And, like, even the term about illegal, which is thrown around so much, because, I think Nick Collins, I believe, might have actually said it on this very radio station.
Mm-hmm.
But, upon research, first of all, these people are not illegal immigrants. These people who are seeking asylum or have been through some form of paperwork or whatever you want to call it, whatever the process. All right, these are not people who just was climbing fences and swimming over rivers and sneaking up through sewer grates.
They're going through the process that by law they're conforming with it and applying for asylum, which
absolutely. So there's a lot of and this is where even us as black people, boy, we can get American real quick.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like an exclusive party. Yeah. You just got in by the skin of your teeth, and then you ready to close the door. Oh, nah, man, you can't come in. Look what you got on. You can't get in here.
Right.
We're so quick, I think, to we have been infected too by the disease of America. So all these little prejudices and biases. Ooh, look at that Haitian. Look at that Mexican. Or whatever. And it's crazy too because we also are so ignorant in our views. Like I've seen people be like, man, look at that Mexican over there, and be like, he's Dominican, right?
Right.
And he was born here. I grew up with him from Eggleston. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter because people are so prejudiced and so stuck on stupid. We're almost back to like when we were kids and we was like, African booty scratcher and all this type of ignorant stuff. But I mean, we got some Trump in our community too.
Yeah.
You understand? Some of that very same ignorant thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, like when Trump, when he came down, he started, and he said, all the Mexicans are rapists, they're this, they're that. And then most recently when he's saying that they're poisoning the blood of Americans. Now, so immigrants. So his wife must have infected him.
Yes.
Because all his wives, I think, were not from here.
Yeah, but they white. See, that's the Dr. Bradley's point.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I know he was being a little bit sarcastic when he's saying, why is that? Mm-hmm. Because, of course, we know why it is. Mm-hmm. And when we get to, I think when the Ukraine situation first happened, I saw on the news, on CNN, late one night, and one of the broadcasters, blonde-haired, white woman, and she was so caught up in it, as everybody was, this is a tragedy, and as it is. But she literally, how you say, Larry? She said the quiet part out loud.
Right.
She was like, "Oh my God, we have to help them. We have to do something. They look just like us."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. But
And that's it.
But see, Jamal, the point you brought up earlier is, like I said, is us. That's why I said. So for me, it was very easy to reach out to brothers like Eddie and Claude and Rhodes. You know, I talked to him when I saw that. I didn't act like and say, "Well, I'm going home and it doesn't affect me and my family." It does affect me. If you're a human being, it does affect you. Yep. And it should affect us. And this is where this division has really been to our own detriment. Yes. Because then they come after you and then you say, well, what's my crime? Yep. The real crime is what we look like. Yep. It's not how we speak. Yep. You know, let's be real.
Brother, if my skin tone is a crime, I'm always going to be incarcerated.
Right. I mean,
come on. I'm always going to be searched.
To Jamal's point, you know, Cliff, who's a frequent listener and a caller into the show, Cliff, when he came on and he was talking about how, just Jamal was saying that, you know, he's from I think it was Panama, and he was talking how sometimes people speak in front of him about it because they think you're something else, and not knowing. Like Brother Rhodes, I would not know because he was born. He doesn't have Asian accent, right. You know, so you start talking. So how about just being respectful of people and not doing it right, and then you don't have to. Oh, I didn't mean you because you my boy, but the rest of them, you know. And Jamal's right. We are quick as black people.
Injustice anywhere. We do it all the time. Threat to justice everywhere. You're right. The people were out there protesting.
Because I'm sorry, go on, brother.
But again, I think they kind of like became aware and acknowledged the fact that why are we protesting these poor folks coming in here? Because I do remember when. What was that? The facility that's on Humboldt and
MAMLEO Cast.
That is a MAMLEO?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm always thinking it's the road by.
No, it's the state. That's the state property.
Okay. So I remember when people were like getting organized to go protest. I was like, are you serious?
Right.
Like, out of all the things you can protest in the city, is these people coming in?
Our kids can't read and write, but no one's protesting that, right? They being
the facility. You guys weren't even using the facility.
Let me tell you, more people are being pushed out of Roxbury, right?
Through economic means,
than they are, because none of them live inside that facility.
Right.
And if you're in there, I don't think most people that are there, they're out of desperation.
Yeah.
That they really want to be living with their families in this open air with strangers, with their kids, and you know the ability to communicate with disease
night and day just to get out of that shelter.
Right.
So once again, see, this is where two things can exist at the same time. Because, like, I wasn't going to go down there and protest or nothing. But once again, I believe that was not a good space to put them. And,
I agree. Yeah.
You know, what do I know? Because I don't have control of all the facilities or whatever. But as we talked on this broadcast when it was first happening, you know, to me, I was like, why not West Roxbury High School?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so that to me would have, you know, the only thing there that I could understand maybe why not is because it is so desolate, you know, in terms of, you know, if people needed to then go get services.
No, Jamal, let me tell you why that's not true. Yeah. Because the folks that were coming down to the transportation building, and because we went and bought some food and we took it down to them, we ordered a bunch of food for the families because they had these stuff. And I was speaking to them, and they said that they had to go to Quincy to register every day to come back to Boston.
Yeah. So waste of time.
And they had to get to Quincy.
Right. Yeah. One of the wives, she said her husband would go and register the family, and you had to do this every day. It wasn't like you could do it every day. They had to go, so they gave them T passes to go out to Quincy to register to come back to stay in the lobby and up in a room in the transportation building. So your point, Jamal, it would be a lot easier for them to get to West Roxbury than to go to Quincy every day.
Yeah.
So it's they're not looking at convenience. They're just looking at, you know, who will put them up. It's just like, you know, at mass and cash, you know,
and when I think of all the abandoned or underused, you know,
schools, just the schools alone, but the schools alone.
But yeah, military base, but also too, you know, we National Guard. I mean, we have some pretty big, like, huge campuses, you know, that aren't being utilized. So I don't get it. I think that could have been done better.
They're closing down the Lila Fredericks. It's closing. This is the last year because there's no more middle school. So that's the thing.
Really?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. All this is happening in plain view with folks. Things that they should be out there protesting. But they're not.
So what's gonna? Now that's breaking news to me. So the Lila, and that's like a recent, that's kind of a state-of-the-art school. That school ain't even what? I want to say 15, 20 years old?
Exactly, Jamal. Exactly.
Are they going to move something, like they're going to turn it into a high school or something? What it is?
I'm not sure what they're going to do with it, but that the middle school will no longer be there. There are no longer. It's the last middle school, and that's the reason they're saying they're closing it down. But the reason is the population of kids.
So where are middle schools then? What happened with middle schools?
There's no longer middle schools in Boston any longer. You go from K through 8 and 8 to 12.
So you're putting the middle school with the high school?
Yes, exactly.
Do you understand the difference in age and the maturity of those kids?
They're putting junior high school with high school.
Yes.
There's a K through 8 and 8 through 12.
8 through 12.
I don't think I agree with that.
Nobody does. No, we've already seen the repercussions of that. Exactly. Oh, we keep coming. Let's be real. They say, oh well, they're on one side of the building. When they leave out of there, they're in the same
area.
Exactly, and we're seeing close prey on
intermingling.
No.
Well, the thing is that maybe they'll have the same busing policy that they had when I was growing up. Remember? I don't know if you remember busing.
No, because if you're from 7th grade, if you're in the 7th grade going up, unless you have some issues, you don't even get you get a T pass.
Okay,
so these kids are 7 through 12 are on buses.
So, but does school time start at the same time? Although they're in the same building, does high school start at 7 and the middle school starts?
I'm not sure of this time, but they're still in the same building. Area. They're still congregating.
So what's the rationale? What's the impetus behind it?
What they don't want people to realize is that the population, because of, like I said, of the gentrification, that a lot of these kids are moving outside of the city because their families can't afford for them to live in the city. So the numbers have declined. They say there's about 47,000. Actual real number is probably about 42, 40, 41, 42,000 kids in Boston public schools.
$42,000 kids.
Yeah.
And a $1.3 billion budget?
Almost $1.4 billion. Yeah.
And half of them don't show up because half of them are absent.
How do you justify the budget, though?
And they want more. They want more.
Buildings, salary, overhead. You already know. That's like when people give money. Remember when the first tragedy happened at the Haiti? I was one of those people like, don't give your money to the Red Cross.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it's paying.
You give $1,000 to the Red Cross. Haiti lucky to see 50.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, this is what I'm saying is that, this goes to as well is, the citizens in Boston voted for an elected school committee to be in place, and they still don't have one. They still have an appointed school committee here in the city of Boston, the only school district in the Commonwealth that has an appointed school committee, and the population is declining, and yet the cost for operating it is going up, and they're going to be hit with some real, because what a lot of people aren't paying attention to is that the COVID money, that was a real infusion of cash in the Commonwealth around the country. That money is gone. This is the last year of it.
Yeah,
that's why you're seeing all these shortfalls, and people went on this shopping spree with that money, and not in a good way. I think the state is looking at a huge cuts. I was presenting a budget for the Post Commission in Worcester, and I was there with 9 other state agencies, and it was really scary. People were in there begging for money. The courts. So you're going to see a lot of programs. One of the things that I did not know is that when the court was presenting that, they had waived a lot of the fees for people that were attached to the courts and that were keeping people from being able to get out of the system. That may go back into place. Also, that they weren't charging people for the phone calls in the jails anymore. How much? But the sheriffs are saying that with this shortfall, they may have to start charging people for phone calls again. That these private companies that are making money, they were picking up the tab for it. So unless you're in that environment, you don't really understand.
You don't understand
what is really taking place here and how it's impacting.
How they say the devil is in the details.
Absolutely, it was, and and the other sad part is that because I'm looking around, Kevin Hayden was there because they had all the DAs were presenting because they were looking for their budget, but I'm looking around the room, Russell Holmes was and there was another black state rep up there, and I'm saying to myself, I think there may have been 5 of us in the room. 5 of us in the room, and all of the people that were heads of all of these agencies and didn't look so.
White men.
I felt like, and women, I felt like our concerns. The Wayne Budd's daughter there. She was there because she's a
head of the SJC.
Kimberly Budd was there presenting for the court. But even with her and all the other judicial people that were heads of the different courts, she was the only one. She was the only one. Yes, she was
these
top.
are people making decisions about incarcerating people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man,
well, also too, I mean, obviously with that, I mean, she's a rarity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In that, you know, when it comes to that, though, you know, particularly with the judges, you know, we've had people like Roderick Ireland, and we've had, you know, we've had these various people. But yeah, it is a rarity because, you know, like anything, corporate world, police world, anything, the higher up you go, it's like a mountain.
Yeah.
That's where the white stuff is on the top.
Well, we have an issue now with our current commissioner where, we have quite an abundance of officers of color who are in this next range to be promoted, and he wants to kill the list and have another test in September when he has an opportunity to really increase the number of women and people of color in the ranks in the supervisory ranks of the Boston Police Department. And this test hasn't been around that long. The last test was around for over 7 years, but it always seems when we get into the crust of where we have an opportunity to diversify what they claim, there's an urgency to appease the other side to have a test right now.
So did
move the goalposts?
Yeah.
So did have the association spoken to him about it?
Yeah, and it's he's saying it's not fair to the other folks. It's about fairness now. We want a system that is fair. The same system that beat the heck out of him. Because we're on the broadcast, I cannot say what I really want to say. Right? But now we need a fair system. We need a democratic system.
Oh, wait a second. This is the commissioner?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Oh, he's our favorite uncle.
Not for nothing, this could be a good lesson for those, because I don't know how deep these discussions are, and of course I'm not in them, and why would I be in this level? But just for regular folks need to know the difference between like fairness and like equity.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Because look, if I come into your house, right, I break in your house, I steal your TV. Okay. I've committed a couple of egregious things. Now, later we might make amends. I give you your TV back, right? But do I also fix the window that I broke to go get it?
Yeah. No. But also, Jamal, I think it's even a little bit deeper than that, right? If you have had a segment of the population that has had more of, right? So, for instance, when right now, currently in the Boston Police Department, there is the current list. There is no one eligible to be promoted to captain. There's no minority. So, but because there's a pecking order. You have to make sergeant, then lieutenant, to make captain. So, if you don't have an infusion of enough people at the bottom level,
you don't get.
You're not going to get to be able to take the lieutenant's. So, for instance, if you have 300 white officers taking the lieutenant's exam compared to 5 people who are eligible on the sergeant for the lieutenant, we already know what the numbers are going to look like.
Right.
So when you have an opportunity to bring those numbers up from the bottom, so you start feeding into the lieutenant's position, so you have a competitive field of people to take the captain's exam. Right now, if Captain Hussein is in, he's probably got maybe 2 years. He can stay another 2 years. Yeah. Captain Facey, same thing, and Captain Cruz, right, are the only one. And Captain Cruz serves as a superintendent, so he doesn't even serve in that. Captain Facey, who we had to fight with this current commissioner, he's the first black captain detective in the history of the Boston Police Department, and they did not want to make him. We had to fight for that position. They did not want to make him a captain detective.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to him. I thought he was in B3.
He was in B2.
B2.
Yeah, he was in B2, and they wanted to give it to somebody else, and we had to push back. But always so to your point, the obvious is staring you right in the face. But yet you want to go the alternate. You want to all of a sudden, like you said, about fair, not equity. You want to throw fair, like somehow this is a fair system. The same system that almost killed you.
Yeah, the other side of the argument that I have heard, though, because I had the same thing when I was on the command staff, we talked about when to kill and when not to kill the list. And I concurred with, with you. We should feed the bottom because at some point when you get to the top, you're not going to have those people there. And the other argument that I was faced with, well, if you don't kill the list, then
how are you going to get these other people?
How are you going to get other people engaged into studying and becoming becoming astute and smart about the nascent knowledge as it relates to policing? My response to that is that you don't use the knowledge anyway. You don't. It's not a part of the whole. It's not a part of the process. I mean, I can understand if you were testing me on knowledge that I would use to do the job,
right?
But you're not using that.
But so that's to that point, and what Cox I think is very hypocritical because he is what we've been operating under is the St. Clair's recommendation. And if folks don't know what the St. Clair's St. Clair a report came out after the child steward killed his wife and unborn child, and then he blamed it on a black man. And then as a result of that, the St. Clair's report came out with some recommendations for them to do. One of them was at the time, and it still is not, you can promote anyone regardless of rank in the Boston Police Department into a leadership role on the command staff. It is an appointed position. So at the time, like Billy Sylvester, he was a detective. Most of Willis Saunders was a detective. So you didn't need to have any rank. As the courts have ruled and said, hey, look, this really doesn't have anything to do with the job. It's about ability. I say that because when the report came out, it recommended them not promote anyone below the rank of lieutenant to the command staff position. At that time, we only had one black sergeant in the whole Boston Police Department, Richie Cox. So since then, every police commissioner since then has still been operating under this guidance from St. Clair, which in its conception was discriminatory. And actually, if we abide by that rule, that's why I say, Cox, you can't have it both ways, because then you should resign immediately from being police commissioner because his civil service rank is sergeant. Commissioner Cox is only a sergeant by civil service rank. So according to that, he should not be in that position. He should not have been a member of the command staff.
Oh, no, should I?
Right.
Have been.
Quite a few people. But it wasn't based on that rank, because I can almost guarantee you that your knowledge did not come from that test.
No, it did not.
Your ability did not come from that test. No, it did not.
It came from something entirely different.
Right. As you were president of MAMLEO, we were the head of organizations that had more people in it than we commanded, and you were in charge of operations. Probably had less than 100 people. That's not disparaging to you, that were under you.
Yeah. As
president of MAMLEO, you were responsible for over 400 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Statewide.
Yeah.
So to say that capability should be based on your ability, not and the judge said in his last ruling with the case there that you've been discriminating against this population for over 40 years.
Wow. And
that huge $60 million, $40 million judgment.
That's the one that we got the big.
Exactly.
Okay.
That in his statement, and every time this has gone before the courts, with the Smith case, with the other ones for promotion, the courts look at this and they say, what are you testing on? What is this about? Rote memorization. So and that's what I'm saying. You go to the point where you say, now, if you were to take a kid from Madison Park, vast majority of those kids there couldn't even pass the entry level exam because they can't even read the diploma that they're given. Right? So where are we going to get these folks from the bottom up when we're talking about trying to build up an infrastructure of people of color and also the cost to live in the city of Boston?
But I wonder what's the emphasis behind it, because Mike seemed to be a very reasonable, sharp guy to me.
He is, but he's out of touch. See, people don't understand Cox's background. He did not, even though he lived in the city, he was educated outside of it. He was not around people that looked like him.
He went to private school, I believe.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
That's right. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But his family had means.
No. What high school he went to?
He didn't go to Boston. I went to Boston. The cops did not know. We lived on the same street.
Well, he just spoke at Curry College. He just spoke at Curry College for us, and he went through his education. He said that he was a part of busing. Was he not a part of busing?
No.
That's crazy. No, he was there. He witnessed it, but he wasn't. He wasn't.
He said he lived in the city of Boston during
busing. Yeah. He tried to connect the two, but the dots don't connect. No, he went to private
school. He's going to be a reasonable person to me. I wonder what is the. I'm questioning it because I'm saying what is the reasoning behind?
Because I think I think he's trying to be fair to a system that doesn't operate that way. And he doesn't want to be perceived as he's trying to give an edge to anyone, and no one is looking for an edge. But he doesn't understand the reality as that, like with Trump, the other side is not playing in a fair system. They want total control and total annihilation of certain individuals, and so you have to take that into consideration. You know. But he sees it from a whole different lens. Okay. And we're in trouble. I mean, Jamal, you live in the city. You're probably seeing the changes and trying to find some place that's affordable because you work for the city. You're required to live in the city, right?
Yes, indeed.
Right. So would you say that that's becoming a little bit, if you got an offer to live outside the city, I'm not saying you would leave, but it would probably be more attractive. That's why Boston is having a difficult time attracting city workers, unless you.
Well, I mean, for me, obviously, I ain't speaking too much on my job, but in general terms, for what people, common sense stuff that people know, is okay. So if you're renting here, that's one thing. Rent is high. What's old boy that time he was running for president with the mustache? He said the rent is too doggone high. But so we all know that rents are going up. Mm-hmm. But what is really hurtful for me is that I was about to buy a house, and then COVID happened, and then now the prices. I mean, the prices were already high then, but then it's gone crazy. The prices of real estate, and then also too, Larry, as you know, the prices of construction costs. Oh, yeah. So, when I was still taking care of my grandmother and I had to do a little fixer up, you used to get a 2x4 for about $1.50.
Right.
Now them suckers is like $4.30.
Right, and that's for the ones that are twisted.
Exactly. Well, that's the only kind of Home Depot sells.
Right. But no, and that's what I'm saying, Joe. That's a very valid point. Is that at some point, again, you find something that puts us at a disadvantage and says, "Oh, we must comply with that." Well, we know a lot of people who could be police officers. It doesn't mean that they're bad. I haven't lived in the city most of my career, but my commitment has been in the community. And when I come here, it doesn't deflect from me doing my job and being invested because I sleep someplace else at night because I want my kids to go to good schools. Yeah. I want to be safe.
But the thing though, Larry, like any police department around the country, there's a recruiting issue and there are personnel issues. You're not going to address those issues if you got people trying to live in the city for more money than they're making.
There you go.
Even if you're doing like Boston never did swaps. If Boston's doing swaps to these days, they're probably going to get one or two people who probably there because they're on the tail end of their career and they want to benefit from the.
They did a lateral swap, a lateral transfer recently. 20 people signed up. When they came in and found out they had to live in the city, it dropped down to 4. And the only reason why those 4 took it is because they were already living in the city.
Really?
Yes. So when they did that, only 20 people applied. And then they weren't aware.
Boston pays good money for a police officer.
But outside you can just, but the other, when they started factoring if you had a child and you had to put right? And then live, right? So if I move into Boston, it would almost be a 51A filed on me if I put my kids in the Boston public school system because it would be abuse and neglect. Yeah. So there's another $25,000.
So that money that you're making is eaten away very quickly because you have to pay for, the school, the housing.
Might pay a little bit more for housing, but moving to a good school district
And I'm sure, I mean, if it were me, my wife would say probably to me, I'm not moving to Boston, and nor are you. You're not moving to Boston. It's not going to happen.
I'll see you on the weekends.
And look, I know y'all about to go take, a break for the next hour. And look, Trader Joe's just called me, so you know what that means.
Oh, there you go. Oh, all right. Well, listen.
And I tell you, just on your ball joke though. Yeah. So now you, Dr. Bradley, Rhodes, and Franklin Hobbs, y'all should start a new singing group and go on tour with a resurgence of the Four Tops.
All right, the Four Tops. The Four No Top.
Oh my!
Good way to end it. Jamal, thank you, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right, peace. Y'all have a good one.
Okay, all right. Well, you've been listening to Roundtable with MAMLEO. Folks, have it.
All right. Just also tonight, if you guys have some time around 5 o'clock, come on in. It's still going on at the Strand Theater. A gentleman came in a couple of weeks ago and he mentioned it, and it's actually a play about black and mental health. So again, today's the last night at 5 o'clock at the Strand Theater.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a good show. Well, folks, enjoy your Easter. Stay safe
and be blessed.
All right.
Amen.
So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, know I came up from the bottom, always rooting for